And good evening. Welcome to Secrets of the Obvious, Part 10. Thank you for all the questions. They've been definitely flooding in. There's also been quite a bit of criticism and people getting angry with me because I'm not able to respond to you immediately. And I can't. Just take note that, first and foremost, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychotic therapist. I don't do therapy. I gave that up 12 years ago. I don't believe anyone is in any position to help anyone that way anyway, as much as people try their best, go for it. I have a full-time job. I run a company. I am responsible for hundreds of employees. And this is something I do in my free time. So just bear with me and don't get upset if I don't answer you in immediately. And you can actually see people send me a question or a response to something, and a couple of hours or a day go by and I haven't responded, and then they respond to themselves responding, and then they respond again, and before you know it, you see their dialogue, and they're having a dialogue with themselves and what they think is me in their head, and by the 6th or 7th mail, they're angry. It's nothing to do with me. I'm not responsible for your state of mind. So don't get angry with me. You're just angry with yourself. Disclaimer, I'm nobody's teacher. I'm nobody's guru. I'm not a holy man. I'm not enlightened. No one is. No such thing. People claim that, oh, Ramana was enlightened, or Buddha was enlightened, or Krishna was enlightened, or Jesus was enlightened. Awaken to self is the term. We, the individual, don't become enlightened. The mind in which we appear dissolves as that which dreams, awakens, enlightens unto itself. That means the pressure's off, whether you figure it out in this life or not. Matters not. And if you think that you as an individual awakens to self and now you return to the spirit world completely awake to be like the master soul in the spirit world, well, that doesn't happen. If you awaken to self, you return to the right-minded self, yourself. The character dissolves, no longer appears anyway. If you don't awaken to self, you return to spirit world. You, as still an individual entity, thought form in the spirit world, you mix with the collective ooze of the spirit world. There's transference. You then project back again part of the script, and you bring with it a part of your previous memories, previous live memories, but you also bring back many other entity memories of those who you're aligned with. And that's why many of us may have memories of being Arthur Bacon, for example, or some will be Shakespeare, or some believe that they were Jesus or whoever, John the Baptist. All that's happening is you're tapping into that memory in the dream. Jesus and everyone else that existed in history are remnants, or history memories in the collective dreaming mind, whether it be spirit world or this world. Once you awaken to self, you move into present awareness, no memory. That's why you have no memory of God, because God is not a memory. God is a present state awareness of non-duality, unconditional love, awareness of awareness itself. There's no memory in awareness. Awareness is just all-pervading presence, the presence of love, unconditional love, experienced by the body-mind entity as it filters and travels and extends through us, is what we call peace. And as it really expands, it's called joy. So let's start on the questions. Question 1, why do people hunt for sport? And why are so many people cruel to animals? Are they really so unconscious? And this person wrote me a long text. She says she finds it very cruel, hunting very cruelty to animals hurts her deeply. And she also mentions that I explained in a previous talk that in the future there won't be carnivores, and that right now there's hundreds of species becoming extinct. Yes, absolutely. I'd say within 1,000 years there won't be any carnivores left. Why? Because that role in the dreaming mind won't have a need to play anymore. And now you go into, oh, but the lions are going to become extinct. Yeah, they are. And start feeling sorry for projections of yourself. Then start feeling pity. That aspect which projected itself as the animals in this world and in many other planets have no need to incarnate anymore. That instinctive projection has no need to incarnate. Why would it? It wants nothing more to do with the dreaming, sleeping mind trying to hide behind all its projected characters, the fear of sin, fear, and guilt. And that's it. So one of my own triggers that helped me in the path to self-awareness, awakening to self, was I used to get so angry with God. Why did you create such a world where something has to be killed in order for something to live? Why do lions have to hunt? Why do gazelles have to die? Something's always eating something. You watch these YouTube videos and whatever clips that people post all the time. It's always some form of something killing something, and it's okay if a crocodile eats a chicken. We get very upset if a cat is killed by a snake, of course, because our empathy for sentient animals, which to us represent unconditional love, is going to trigger a negative, fearful, angry response. That's the plan of the ego mind, to keep us trapped in anger, vengeance, trying to protect, trying to save. Realize that you, Holy Son of God, this isn't real. And you have to get to the point where you take full accountability for having dreamt up the entire dream. The dreamer is localized through you, for you, and is experiencing himself through you in order to realize what he is through the experience of what he's not. You help the entire collective by realizing self, not by trying to fix the dream world, not by trying to save the dream world. Now, by all means, it doesn't mean you sit back and watch children starve and animals starve. Get involved. I certainly do. One of my charities is animals. One of my other charities is a cat haven. I care deeply, because what am I caring about? I'm caring about myself. Someone who can go out and hunt for sport is someone that is completely unconscious that everything, the entire universe, every sentient animal out there, every animal out there is a part of them fractured selves. So what are they actually doing? They're hunting, they're killing a part of their innocence. And then they put it up, they chop its head off and put it up on the wall as a trophy. It's atrocious. But that's the depth of sleep. That's the depth of unawareness. Now, don't start judging those people, because the minute you've gone into judgment, you're back into sleep again. Just forgive, and then you'll forget it. Does it mean it stops in the world? No, it stops in your awareness. And that means you're transcending. And when you awaken to self, you're another lit mind, little fractured, projected mind in the dreaming mind, in the collective mind. And each one of us that lightens up in the light of awareness, the love of God, the love of self, the love of Christ self in the dream, brings another light to the dream. That's why the newer generations are coming through with a higher state of being. I mean, I hear many people complain about the new generations this and the new generations that. The new generations are just projections of you awakening in a different way, awakening in a much faster way than you've ever done, just by the way. But it's all you. And so each one of us that adds to the collective awaken to self, right-minded state of mind, as the right mind awakens to self, the wrong mind starts to dissolve, and therefore every fragment that gets reincarnated, reprojected into the dream, is coming in a little bit more light. Now, of course, the darkness, the ego, isn't going to let you go gently into the light. It's going to fight back. So yes, cruelty to animals is the deepest form of darkness, in cruelty to the innocents, cruelty to children, cruelty to women, cruelty to anyone really is just the darkest of the dark. But don't get trapped into it. Don't let your false empathy is false empathy. Empathy is false compassion. False compassion is called empathy. Don't let empathy pull you into suffering, other people's suffering, because then you're back into suffering. You're back into sleep. Rise above the battlefield. Realize everything you look upon is not true. And what is true is the essence of all of it is the love of God, is the essence we are, is spirit. Spirit energy is the same thing. Rise above the battlefield. I hope that will bring some clarity. And, you know, when you're really feeling yourself drained and hurt by what you see, return to self. Call on your higher self. Call on your memory of God, Holy Spirit, memory of God. Now, remember, you don't have memory of God, but the memory of God contains the memory of true, the presence of yourself here and now. Here now, right now. Return to self. Okay, next question. This one is a very angry person, and let's all pray for this person. This person is definitely a course student and belongs to some foundation or some monastery or something. And this person is very angry with me, especially since they think I've belittled their teacher, which of course I haven't. But they've taken it that way because, like many religious person, they're always on the defense. And you'll notice that religious people always think everybody else is out to get them, and that everybody else is evil and everybody else is out to get them. Why? Because they think everybody is evil and everybody's out to get them. That projection comes back at them and then they attack. And so this beautiful brother without any hair says to me, you shouldn't be teaching A Course in Miracles. Who gave you permission to do so? What the fuck? Seriously, you gave me permission? I need permission. Permission from who? So there's 30,000 sects of Christianity, each one teaching Christianity their own way. Don't you think the same thing's happening to A Course in Miracles? Don't you think that everybody who reads the book has their own interpretation thereof? That's why it's meant to be done alone. The purpose of group work is not so I can teach you my way. It's so I can share with you a different perspective that you can bounce it up against yours. And if you agree with mine, it reinforces yours. And if you disagree with mine, it reinforces yours. It reinforces your belief and understanding. At some stage, you've got to go beyond belief and understanding, transcendence. And that transcendence is not done by us. That transcendence is done by our holy self, Holy Spirit self, Christ self. Transcendence is from understanding to knowing. So what makes me an authority on the teachings of Jesus? Nothing, absolutely nothing makes me an authority on the teachings of Jesus, but everything makes me an authority on the teachings of Christ. What is Christ? My true self. And of course, all of us can access our true self. What makes me so special to do so? Nothing. None of us is special. That's the beauty. We can all access our Christ, right-minded Christ mind. Okay. Then this person calls me the Antichrist. I thought they're A Course in Miracles student, so now you believe in the Antichrist. And they damn me to hell. How's that? Damn me to hell. Course in Miracles student, damning me to hell. So maybe they haven't let go of the Catholic upbringing. Maybe it's because they have a small willy and they don't have much hair. Perhaps that's the problem. But let's forgive them anyway. So who's given me permission? The Lord God of my being has. And again, you don't have to watch this. Switch off, go somewhere else. Go and listen to, I mean, if you want to listen to joyful teachings, there's a David Hoffmeister. David always teaches in the most joyful way. If you want a mythical teaching, there's lots out there as well. Hey, there's beautiful brothers out there teaching beautiful stuff. Mine is going to take away your teddy bear called Jesus. Why? Because it's going to make you realize you're the Christ, and it's going to take you beyond a hand-holding, walking us home together, to the realization the Christ itself is already here, and it's going to take you to the 9th, 10th, 11th rung of the ladder, where there's no ladders, there's no step, there's no you to step up, there's you to dissolve and realize the self. Lord God of our being is what gives us the confidence, the clarity of understanding, which brings transcendence, which then brings total conviction through knowing. And yes, I speak with conviction because I know the self. Now, by the way, that doesn't make me a perfect person. I'm far from it. I'm just a human being. Guess what? I still use toilet paper. Guess what? I still have to fill up my motorcycle with petrol. Guess what? I still eat food. Just a human being. Don't make me into any mythical teacher. And there's a tendency that we place our hope on someone else. Don't place your hope on me. I'm just a human being. If you meet me, you'll be disappointed. I'm not nearly as tall as all of you make me out to be. and I certainly don't put up with shit. And you're going to want to tell me your story. I don't listen to stories. I'm going to stop you. You're going to ask me a question and you want to tell me a long story with your question. I'm going to stop you from asking your question, from telling your story. That's going to piss you off because you want to tell your story. You want me to feel empathy towards you. I don't. Zero empathy, total compassion. I'm going to kick you in your Uranus until your third eye opens. It sparkles like fairy dust, you know? So this person's very angry with me. Who gives me the authority? Lord God of my being does. Get used to it. And if you don't like it, don't watch. And as far as calling me the Antichrist, you're 100% correct. I and everybody on this planet are the Antichrist. Now, you've ever been to an Italian restaurant? What do you order before the main meal? You order the antipasto, the before the pasta. Antichrist, the before the Christ, not against the Christ. The Antichrist is what comes before the full awakening to the Christ we are. One collective dreaming mind awakens to the awake Christ mind, the extension of the love of God. So am I the Antichrist? Absolutely yes. As are 8 billion people on this planet, 9 septillion throughout the universe. We're all that comes before the awakening. And what happens when the Christ ascends into the universe? The whole universe dissolves because all there is the light of awareness ever extending. So yeah, so if you're upset with me in your little monastery, then write your next complaint on $100 bill and post it to South Africa. God bless you, by the way. Okay. Beautiful next question is, this person has been studying Advaita Vedanta, been in Advaita Vedanta for 10 years and has studied many of the mystery books and has recently come upon A Course in Miracles. Now, isn't that interesting? We're Westerners living in a Western society with access to A Course in Miracles. We go and listen and read Eastern philosophy. Now, you'll notice that if I do use an Eastern term that's found in Advaita Vedanta, for example, then I will immediately give an English translation for it. A lot of people think that by using all of these Indian spiritual terms, it makes them spiritual. That's another typical example of egoic spiritual identity. You know, we can't just have a meeting. We have to have a satsang. Oh, for fuck's sakes, it's just a meeting. Doesn't make it spiritual. There's fuck all spiritual in this world, people. This whole thing was made in vengeance, and sitting in a fucking circle listening to a fucking teacher doesn't make it spiritual. It just makes it egoic. Get over yourselves. Satsang. Fuck satsang. Meeting. That's it. Why do you want to use a Hindu word? You're not spiritual. You're fucking cooked. You don't like that. If I just insulted you, stop watching, go somewhere else. I've called you on your shit. That's the problem. You want to think you're spiritual. Look at me. I have a circle. People are listening to me. I'm so spiritual. I sit barefooted with my legs crossed. You're fucking cooked. I'm wearing Harley boots right now and I'm carrying a gun on my hip. Fuck you for you judging me for that. I live in Africa. That's what we do. And if you don't like it, listen to someone else. But you're not fucking spiritual, calling yourself satsang. You're an idiot. And you're making yourself an idiot to anyone that's awakened to self, realizes you're talking shit. And guess what? I forgive you. Actually, I don't forgive you. I don't give you any more attention after that. Just called you on your shit. Now, this person has been nailed for studying the Eastern philosophies and should be doing A Course in Miracles. Hey, anyone that's written that has got half a brain and has read any Advaita Vedanta, not just of Advaita, take something like the Nidhisiyana texts, okay? The Advaita Gita. Holy fuck, guys. If you'd read that, you wouldn't be here. The Ashtabara Gita, I'm pronouncing it wrong because I'm not Hindu, I'm South African, is Course in Miracles with different words. The Nidhisiyana text is a school called the universe in Hindu words. It explains the whole incarnation process, the whole dissolving into the self, the right mind and the wrong mind. It's exactly the same thing. The difference between Buddhism and Taoism and Advaita, Hinduism, and mystical Christianity, which is non-duality, really. There's no such thing as mystical Christianity. Christianity is just fucked up. It's just bullshit. It's the same thing. Non-duality is unity awareness. It's at one-ment, atonement awareness. It's Christ-mindedness. Now, don't start thinking that as you awaken to self, you're just going to become all gentle. If you were gentle, you were gentle. If you're this, you've been this. Nothing's going to change. You just realize, I'm not dreaming. Take the pressure off. You realize this is a dream, and I'm not dreaming anymore. I now realize, but how come this character doesn't dissolve? Because the love of self for the love of the rest of ourselves is so intense. When you awaken to self, you don't want to just run away to the hills, hide, and be reclusive. You want to share. You want to bring the rest of your fractured selves. Your foot's asleep, your legs asleep, your hands asleep, and you go, hang a second, the rest of me is awake to self. Let me bring energy back into my hands. Let me massage my legs. Let this whole body awaken to self, and let me dissolve the body into the self I am. This whole idea that spiritual means meek and mild. I've told you before, the meek inherit the earth. The meek can keep the fucking earth. Shove the earth up where it doesn't. I don't want the earth. I want heaven. Meek is the weak-minded, the weak of character, the weak of convictions. That's what meek means. You want to be, you don't want the grandiosity of the ego or the littleness of the ego. You want the grandeur of God. Because to think that you're not anything but the essence of God expanding is to really be blasphemous. Everything is God. Everything contains the raw essence. The creation is the raw essence, the energy of God extending. But no, we want to be characters in the dream, and we want a teddy bear called Jesus to hold our hand and to come and save us. We don't want to take responsibility that we made up this fucking mess. Now, you want to be spoken to like you're a nice person, and you want me to give you empathy and listen to your stories. It's going to happen. Not on this watch, not in this character. This is going to press that button until you choose to awaken to self and realize I am responsible for the world I made. I am responsible for creating all these characters, and think I could then hide amongst the billions and from this vengeful God I imagined, and then I can hold myself as innocent and everybody else is to blame. So should you study A Course in Miracles? If you read the other books, they're all the same. The great thing about the Course in Miracles is if you're English speaking, it speaks non-dual Advaita, Ashtavara Gita, the Nidishyana texts, the Taoism, the non-dual in English. And so Christ, self, one indivisible self. Atman, Brahman, Jiva. Same thing. Jiva melts into Atman. Atman melts into God. Brahman is all there is. Atman is self, the observer, son of God. Choose again, right or wrong-minded. It's the same thing. Don't get stuck. Now, if you're a Course in Miracles student and you heard me using different terms, by all means, study whatever you want to, but realize what's brought me conviction is the ability to have read these truisms in many different books and many different thought streams, and collectively bring it into one. Now, it's not because the books are saying the same thing that it's now awoken to self. It's through the direct experience of what the books were showing me, what they were pointing me towards, the inward journey. And as I abided, and as I practiced meditation, and as I was willing to let go this entire world and completely surrender, not just align, completely surrender to the Lord God of my being, that the direct experience brought me the awareness of self. Not that what was in the books. You could read whatever you want to. You can get an incredible understanding. You see millions of them. This world is filled with millions of preachers of the good book and the good whatever. And the Course in Miracles, the society is filled with hundreds of them. They can regurgitate huge amounts of text, and they can say on page 17 and it says this, and on page 94 it says that, and in chapter 17. It's just parrots regurgitating. True awareness, true self-awareness. You speak with confidence and conviction. That's why I don't apologize for saying fuck. And fuck you for judging me, because judgment is far worse than me saying fuck. What it does is it just brings you into it. It's like I can smoke cigarettes, you judge it, it affects your lungs way more than it affects mine. Hey, Love is what we are. And the minute you can stop yourself judging, you realize self. Because to stop judgment means you stop what? What's judging? Thought. And when thought stops judging, thought subsides. And what rises into awareness? Awareness, the self rises into awareness. It's all there. Read whatever you want to, but realize until you've transcended. I mean, imagine you just lived on an island, you've never read anything. By abiding long enough, and you thought maybe the sun was your God. At some stage, the sun reveals itself as the sun you are. S-U-N from S-O-N. That's it. Okay. It's not the reading. It's not what's in the texts. It's the direct experience thereof. Practice forgiveness long enough, and you will realize there's nothing to forgive. The problem, as I've said so many times before, is we want to know God, or we want to know Christ, or we want to know self, but we want to hang on to illusions. And so we're always polarized. And the conflict, the reality of self reveals itself to you, the gap between your illusion and true reality becomes further and further apart, and it pulls you, and then your life feels like one continuous struggle. Why? Because you've had a glimpse into it's like you've just had a lick of beautiful vanilla ice cream. That was amazing. And our mommy's making you eat porridge, and porridge is just bleh. Porridge is for sick people and children, and you just want ice cream. You want the glory of God, which you've tapped into, the awareness of self, the ever extending love of God extending, but you keep coming into the dream because you're hoping that this is going to change because you want this illusion to be joyful. It's like watching a fucking horror movie, and you're gripping the seat, and you've dug your claws into your neighbor's hand, and you're shitting yourself, but the blood is pumping and you feel alive. And then all of a sudden the movie stops, pause, and there's a wonderful advertisement of the Bahamas and a wonderful holiday, and you calm down for a second, but you don't leave the cinema house. You switch back on, movie starts again, and you're back into the horror, and you're hoping that the horror is going to turn into that little advertisement where the horror subsides and you move to paradise. The horror is going to intensify. The more and more you dip into and you get glimpses into the reality of what you are, the more the horror is going to feel horrendous. But eventually you'll let go. So don't beat yourself up too much. At some stage, you'll be so fed up with your shit and with your little self that you will let go. No rush. Question 4. You often speak of extending yourself. How do I do that? Well, I've said 3-step journey. Now, the 3-step journey, your first step of the journey is gone. It was your just journey away from God, the making manifest for the thousands of incarnations that you've had, thousands upon thousands, not just 7 incarnations or 49 or 69 or whatever guru told you what. You've been incarnating for thousands of years. Why? You've actually been incarnating for 16.4 billion years. Because that's how old the universe is. And ever since the universe came into inception, you, the self asleep, have incarnated in a billion ways. And every single incarnation is you. First dreamer's advantage, a position. You've got to take, I've dreamt this all up, not just you, the little fracture here now. You've been dreaming all of it. That was your journey away from God. Then at some stage, you started awakening to self. You started asking, what am I? What is God? What is the true nature of reality? What am I? Where do I go when I die? What happens? And then at some stage, you started to realize what the I really is. The I that am, the I in me is the I in you. The I is love. The love in me is the love in you. Love is the absence of bodies. Love is the essence of what we are. Love is God. Love is self. Love is God. Christ is a word for the self. While we dream, we needed a word for the self, that once we access self, we have some term to give ourselves. So once we access self, we become Christ, Christ self. And what is Christ self? The essence of God ever extending. So now you've awoken to that, and now your journey to God begins. And eventually, once the full recognition of it happens, what do you think is going to happen? You think you're just going to floaty up into the heavens? That's because you've bought into bullshit mythology. You've bought into bullshit figures where they tell you that Jesus disappeared into the clouds in front of them. Awareness. The awareness which Jesus became Christ awareness, Christ mind, right-minded awareness. The minute he ascended his body, resurrected his body, his self is ascended. Now, do you think you need to dissolve out of the dream? And you think that unless you dissolve out of the dream, you haven't figured it out. And that's why people are so critical of Ken. Surely Ken should have dissolved like Jesus. No, you all die. The body of the man, Jesus, was eventually put to rest too. You know, it's not written in the Bible that way, but there's millions of texts that he lived, he came back to this earth and lived until many, many more years. He moved to France. He then moved to the UK. Jesus is the very same person that started the Society of the Druids in the UK and what became the UK. He was around on this earth for many, many more years. But you want to buy into the Bible bullshit. It's bullshit. All of it. It's bullshit. Okay? It's not true. The man Jesus, Christ Jesus, awoke to self. The stories make it so mystical, so unreachable. That's the whole point of it. Shrouded in mystery. One of us became special. That's what we need to hang on to. One became more special. One ascended into the clouds. We need these stories. We want to believe them. Just like when you were 5 years old, you wanted to believe in Santa Claus until you realized he couldn't be coming down the chimney because the chimney wasn't big enough. Or he couldn't be Santa Claus because he was bonking your mom. It couldn't be. So you started to realize this is bullshit. You wanted to believe it. You wanted to believe it into your 30s. You still believe it. You still buy people Christmas presents. Do you believe that shit? So it's just bizarre. You want to believe that bullshit story. You want to believe he ascended into the heavens. It's one indivisible self. And whether he did or did not, and I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm saying whether he did or did not is irrelevant. Awakening to self, one has already transcended it. That means all of us has transcended it because the essence of what was Christ Jesus is the essence of you. You don't want that. You want a savior. You want a teddy bear called Jesus. So true extension is just be yourself as you are. Journey from God, away from God, done. Journey to God, done. Now journey with God. Now, what is God? It's your essence. And God's playing out through you. God as the dreaming mind, the right mind, not aware of the character, but the essence influence of the right mind, self, Christ, God, is your passionate nature. It's the essence energy that animates you. And it uses the characteristics that you use to journey away from God, your natural passionate talents, to now journey with God, which means go pour yourself lovingly into the world. Now, there's a tendency for us to become reclusive as our journey towards God intensifies. And we become reclusive. We want to hide away from the world. We think the world is too intense for us, too crowded for us. Hey, it's all you. It's too toxic. If you're seeing toxicity, it's your toxicity reflected back at you. Or this environment's too toxic. It's all you. Now, there's some stage where you want to become a recluse. You want to pull away. You want to become introspective. You want to abide. You want to be still and know I am. But once the I am is known, you want to pour the I am into the rest of your fractured self. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to go rush out there and convert and preach to people. See, this is for free. No one has to watch this. I'm not trying to force this down anyone's throat. If you don't agree with what I say, switch off, go somewhere else. But it wants to be shared. And those that want to hear this message will find me. You have, whether you agree with me or not. Something is calling you to pay attention. Please take note. So it now extends. And so as I said, you come back into self and you will abide. You'll be reclusive. It's the I amness. It's be still and know I am. It's the peace of God becomes me. But that peace of God doesn't sit still. Spirit isn't still. Spirit extends. And once it starts to extend, you'll want to dip into the world. And it'll be slowly at first. And it's not going to go, don't worry, you're not going to go chase after the dreams you once had. There's no more dreaming. Now there's just sharing. On the outside, it looks the same. You'll just be sharing. I still ride my motorcycle. I still go and connect with people. You know, I still enjoy ice cream and pizza and a cigarette and coffee. And just now I don't need it. Now I just enjoy it. And I'm enjoying. I'm in the joy of being. I'm enjoying sharing the self. So how do you extend? You be yourself authentically. Don't try and be spiritual and speak spiritual. Speak foreign to me. You don't have to speak spiritual language. And we get so trapped in spiritual language, and we want so to say, and as if, and then we want to spiritualize it. And I know I'm dreaming, but the minute you say but, you fucked, just gone straight back to beginning. Snakes and ladders. Just be yourself. Just be yourself. Just, and you know this as I say it. That's why you get so excited right now. Let's just be yourself with your fucks and your non-fucks. Don't give a fuck. Just be. That's it. Okay. Hope that brings it into your awareness. Next question. Is the darkness or the light growing? And that's a very interesting question. Obviously, the light is forever extending. So as the mind awakening to self, it means the light is extending. Now, as we fell asleep, and you can read that in my school, the school called the universe, or the school called Earth, if you have a version, there were five steps of separation, eventually a total of 7, but let's stick to those 5 layers. We're in the 5th level of time right now. So that means that the mind expands, contracts, expands, contracts, expands, contracts 7 times. Every time it's expanded and contracted, the expansion became larger, the contraction became more intensified. We're in the 5th layer of time, 5th level of time. That means that we're at the end of that final contraction. Okay. In Hindu, they talk about the tetras, the moving away from source, the returning to source. And it's the cycle of times that our solar system travels around the center of the universe. It's God speaking out loud now through the lightning. So what's happening right now is there's a third of us throughout the universe that are awakening to self. And at the end of this 5th cycle of time, when you put down this body, you no longer return as a body. The essence which animates you, that which was spirit, that which projected into form as you, now returns to right-mindedness. You become a light that lights up the lit Christ mind. So the light is extending. What happens to the rest of them? They go through another dark period. It's about, if I can remember, it's 24,647 years or something like that of falling asleep. So now those that leave the mind this time around, those of you informed right now that are awakening to self, once you've awoken to self, you don't return. Those that haven't awoken to self, there's another 24,000 year cycle, the 6th level of time, and then there's another 24, and then by then it's complete. 2 more cycles of time, 24, another 24,000 years, plus another 24,000 years. You know, don't get trapped in it. Don't go into that. I mean, I spent a lifetime studying that. Just realize you're awakening to self. The minute you realize you're dreaming, right here, right now, and the minute you have your final breath, and you're no longer attached to anything on this earth, and you no longer want to fix any of it, because you realize it was just a dream. No matter how intense, no matter how exciting, no matter how cruel, no matter how beautiful, just a dream. No more attachment. Let go, let God, return to self. That you fracture no longer returns. The essence you are returns to the light mind, the right mind. The bright mind is extending its light into the dream, meaning that the dream is fading. It's not, the truth can't come to illusions, but as the truth intensifies in ourself, the dreaming mind starts to recede, starts to dissolve. Yeah, it's going to take another 50,000, 500,000 years or whatever it's going to be. Don't get trapped in the times. It's actually irrelevant. Be present here now. Don't go studying into the mysteries. Abide, forgive, return, extend. It's a simple. Okay. Next question. I am starting to see the light around objects. Is this a natural effect of awakening to self? Absolutely. But don't think it's special. Some do, some don't. It's showing you because you're visual and you need to see. And at some stage, that light around the objects will fade until you're in total silence. And then you'll see it extend and expand again. But ultimately, all of it is light. All of it is self. All of it is you. Don't start looking at objects and think certain things are more spiritual than others. There's many a person that thinks they're certain holy portals or holy places in this world. None of it. Yes, there's a lot of places where people sit and pray, and the energy of it seems to be more, but it's only because the energy of the area is given its energy by those sentient beings abiding in it. The holiest place on earth is where an ancient hatred became a place of love. It's in your heart. It's in yourself. So don't make it into anything mystical. Just realize it's a natural transition, and just bearing in mind you'll go through phases. You know, look at, if you're ever stuck and you're not sure where you are and why it's happening to you, go back to the development of trust, the 6 stages we go through, and realize you're spiraling. And so you're going through those 6 stages over and over again. Choose again, choose again, choose again, and it's becoming lighter and lighter. And the final 6th stage, you'll let it all go, and you realize I could just be myself. I don't have to be anything. I get it. I'm dreaming. I realize I'm dreaming. I realize this is all me. It's all me. Nothing to blame. No one to be angry with. Nothing to reject. It's just all this, and it's beautiful because you start to see Christ. In other words, you recognize everything as love. Christ love. Not seeing the face of Jesus, you're seeing the face of Christ. You realize everything is love, not the bodies. You realize that which animates all of it is love, and the bodies no longer represent anything but love back at you. That is the true beginning of right-minded, Christ-mind vision. Next question, and then we'll take a break. Why do many, if not most, spiritual people struggle with money and relationships? And this is a very common question. I'm combining 20 questions into this one. And most people give me a story. Please do me a favor, if you're going to send me letters, cut the story and just send me the question. Trust me, I don't bother reading. Are you insulted? That's your problem. I'm just not interested in your story. It's not true. Not true to me. It's not true for you. I just look at the question, I'm going to answer it. Have you noticed that most people will say, why do we struggle with money and relationships? You struggle with energy, full stop. You don't realize the energy you are. And you carry such guilt that you don't believe you deserve to be happy in a relationship. And so you find relationships where you won't find a relationship where you can truly be happy. You'll find a relationship where you can complain about something. And remember, transference, when 2 objects come together, and particle collision, they impart on each other and they go in opposite directions, and none of them are the same again. They take a bit of each other with them. And that's what relationships are like. Relationships are great teaching devices. And so you're bringing into yourself a mirror, and you think, well, they're acting up. No, they're just mirroring what's inside you, and you're mirroring what's inside them. And sometimes they're mirroring not what's inside you, but what's not forgiven within you. One thing you need to realize is once all the forgiveness work of your fractured body-mind history is done, what are you sticking around for? You're forgiving all of it. You're here to forgive all of it. Dr. Hugh Len walks around day out, just, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Keeps repeating it. Why? Because it's a total forgiveness lesson where the dreamer, okay, the self who dreams, is a part of us that is awake is forgiving ourselves for dreaming all of this. Why do people struggle with relationships and money? It's an exchange of energy, and we believe in scarcity. We don't believe we deserve to be loved. We don't believe we are loved. We don't recognize love in front of us. We don't recognize unconditional love. So we play our games of keeping back, of holding back, of giving them attention, giving them compliments, and then withholding. And so at some stage, you're going to bite you in the ass. And the reason we fail at money is because it's an energy exchange, and we feel guilty for having money. And whenever we see people with money, we think they're not spiritual enough. The reason you've become spiritual, okay, is because you weren't successful. You weren't successful in the world. Show me highly successful people who made a lot of money. There's lots of them. And guess what? They didn't give up their money just because they became spiritual. You're not struggling with money because you're spiritual. You're struggling with money because you've always struggled with money, and you became spiritual because you struggled with money, because you hope that by becoming spiritual, you become abundant too. That's why people do law of attraction and think it's spiritual. Law of attraction is just egoic attraction, because what they want to be rich, because they think by being rich, they're going to be happy. They're going to be spiritually happy. Then they can go and feed the kitty cats of all the world. Why? Because you still believe it's all real. None of it's real. Money is just energy. I've lived in abundance my whole life. The last couple of years, it's just gone slow because I've invested in things. I haven't had a lot to play with. And why do I live abundantly? Because then I can share abundantly. Imagine all the people in the world that were spiritual and conscious and awake to self were financially abundant. Imagine all the charities, all the animal shelters, all the starving children we could help. We're supposed to be abundantly, joyously abundant. And that joyous abundance, what is money? It's just energy exchange. We'd be abundantly joyous too. Have you noticed I don't ask for money and I refuse to take any money? I don't need it. I've got divine providence. I've got more than enough. Everything I own is paid for, taken care of. I haven't relied on a single charity. I haven't taken money. I used to, many years ago, used to do courses. Used to give courses. Used to give, it wasn't charging much for them. Used to give all of my time to them. The money was really just all of it used to go to charity, all of it. As every single cent from every single book I've ever sold on a charity. Why? Because I'm abundant. Why am I abundant? Because I'm pure energy, joyously being myself in the way I know how. And so I don't see anything. I don't feel guilty about anything. Nothing. Okay. Nothing. I don't have a single guilty thought in my head. Not for 3 days at least. So not even after I eat ice cream, while I'm smoking a cigarette and spanking some kitty cat. There's nothing to feel guilty for. It's my dream. I'm having fun with it. I'm remembering self. You can too. Woohoo. You know, don't charge a lot for spanking. It all goes to charity. So if you want to get spanked, make a phone call. I'll spank you. For money, for charity. Okay. Yeah, let's take a break. So I did touch on the question before, does anyone awaken in this world? Sorry, does anyone awaken in the dream world, the spirit world? No, absolutely not. If they did, we would have no need for projection. And remember, when spirit projects into a fracture of itself into the physical world, into the second dream, the physical world, the spirit world only has snippets of access to the fracture of itself, doesn't have access to the dream character. Spirit isn't watching you all the time, thank God, because you can imagine every time you do the honky tonky, would spirit be watching you? No, they're not accessing us. We're at a different vibrational frequency to us. So it's like they've just left the room for a little while. So, and spirit in the spirit world isn't too interested in what's happening down here, because a lifetime here for spirit in the spirit world feels like you've just left the room, gone to the bathroom, and you've come back. They don't miss us, so they're not watching. And when they don't come back from the bathroom, it's because they've awoken to self and they don't return to the spiritual dream. And so they're unaware of what's happening here. And in the spirit world, there's not enough of a polarity. There's not enough of a duality for us to realize what we are through the experience of what we're not. All that spirit experiences, although it's quite, it's a beautiful, loving environment because we've hidden the fierce sin and guilt. In the spirit world, we certainly feel a level of frustration because we've been there forever and we have no idea the purpose of being there. And yes, it's fun and it's happy, especially once you've just come back from an incarnation. But even that fades after a while and you can't wait to go play it back. So if you're wondering why you choose the tough lives, you choose the tough lives, especially the tough emotional lives, so that you can really scream up at the heavens, swear at God, get really angry with God, get to that point where you're so broken that you have the courage to go fuck you to God, and then say there must be a better way. Because the fuck you is one thing, but asking for there must be a better way, that's what it's all about. This question came with a very long, next question came with a very long wording and also a lot of explanation. And this person asks me, and several people have, so this is a combination of a few questions. Why do I speak with such confidence about the nature of true reality and the nature of God or the nature of self? How do I know with such conviction? This one person specifically said, I've never heard anyone speak this way with such confidence and with such authority. Is it because you died and then came back? And many people then ask me, and what if I was wrong? What if I'm wrong? Well, let me answer that part first. What if I'm completely wrong and completely cooked and I've messed this whole thing up? Well, at least I'm happier and more peaceful than I've ever been. And I'm happy just being my authentic self. That's the beauty of this. And at least through sharing this way with others, people are letting go of their heavy burdens of sorrow and fear and guilt. And so we're just being joyously ourselves. So what if I'm wrong? At least then it's a more joyous life. But no, it's not because I died and, and traveled back to the spirit world, not a near-death experience. I was physically dead for 4 hours. Even when I came out of the spirit world, when I resurrected my physical body at the age of 33 and crawled out to the morgue, I had a memory of the spirit world, a memory of my past incarnations, but I still hadn't understood the nature of reality. I still hadn't understood that my mind was dreaming. It took me the next 10, 12 years to really get into the non-dual understanding, and the next 10 to really figure out that, hang a second, it's all me, and the spirit world's the secret dream, and I've hidden sin, fear, and guilt in the dream, not realizing it's there, and then through my projections, I experience it. Because why? Because even though it's in my subconscious mind, I'm still projecting, so I'm going to project it, whether I'm aware that I'm projecting it or not. That's why a lot of people say, why do bad things happen to good people? Because subconsciously, we're still projecting fear, sin, and guilt, and it comes back at us. Why do I speak with such conviction? Because of direct experience. So I've experienced the spirit world. I've realized it's no more happy there than it is here, not as conflicting, not as dangerous, not as vicious, but still not a happy place, not totally. Many people that have near-death experiences, they romanticize it and field of dreams and so forth. And as it is in heaven, movies are born, but those are just glimpses into that first part. Stick around in happy, happy heaven forever, and you'll start self-sabotaging, and before you know it, you're projected straight back here in a self-sabotaging dream. So why such conviction? Because the direct experience of my true essential self, when you get to that center of self, true self, capital S self, the self which is Christ mind, which is the extension of the love of God, when that is clear, it's clear. There's no doubt. There's not a single doubt. Trust me on this. Well, don't trust me on this. I urge you to go direct experience. Go look, and you'll realize when self is revealed, the glory of God is revealed, and the extension of God is revealed. It's clear. There's no doubt. There's not, ooh, is this? No, it's clear. And it's with total conviction that you come back into this world. Like I said, I had to go back. I had to recede. I'd been the recluse for 10, 12 years, even longer. And slowly started coming out during the COVID period through the YouTube. Now I'm back into the world. I'm re-engaged, and I'm now, sharing all of myself. And there is no doubt that there's total clarity on the essence I am. We all are. The I in me is the I in you. Love is the absence of space and time. Love is the absence of body. I can't say I love you. I recognize love, recognizes love. It's all love. Love is the essence energy of pure peace, pure joy, ever extending unconditionally. That is God. That is love. That's why I do speak this way, because of that direct experience. And more beautifully about it is, in total truth, there's a part of me that just wants to go completely quiet. There's nothing to say. But I realize, but the rest of myself isn't getting it. Why not? Because it's all me, and I recognize now that this part has got it. I am fully responsible for all of it. So let me share my awakening to self sequence of events with the rest of my fractured selves as signposts. Don't hug the signpost. It's just signposts. Jesus was a signpost. Buddha, Krishna, Ramana, Papaji, we're all signposts, just pointing to the self within, the love of God, which extends through all of us. So, once you abide, and once the recognition of self comes through, there'll be no more doubt. When you're tapping into it, the ego almost captures it immediately, and the doubt comes. Once that identity, ego, body, mind identity, is realized, fully realized, not to be real, the real self comes through. And my greatest gift to you is my greatest difference from you. And your greatest gift to me is your greatest difference from me. But the reality of what we are is identical, and that is the love of God. And I really just want to bring this into the world. Just be yourself, because we beat ourselves up because we look at that person and that person, and they're so spiritual, and they smile, and they're so happy, and they speak in soft tones, and we think, but I'll never be that. And this one sees lights, and that one sees angels, and that one Jesus talks to them, and they've written another book, The Power of Love, or How Love Conquers All. And And how come it's not happening to me? Maybe I'm still asleep. Bullshit. Bullshit. All of us, every single one of us. You don't have to have a spiritual word, have read a spiritual book, be religious, be spiritual, be anything, and God's still playing out through you. There's many a person in this world that has the direct experience. They just don't have words for it. And you don't need words for it. Just be yourself as authentically and genuinely as you can be. This leads on to the next question, which says, I want to help others have a happier and more purposeful life. I want to help others awaken as I have. Ouch. Can you please suggest a way to do this so that I can be of service to others? First of all, beloved, there is no others. And if you've just ranked ordered yourself as you've awoken and now everybody else needs your help, then what you don't realize is what you see as others is fractions of you. There's a part of you that has awoken itself, but there's many parts of you that haven't. And you're seeing those many parts of you that haven't awoken to self as the others. When you see an enemy in the world, it's just many me's. Many me's are your enemies. Others that need your help are fractions of yourself that need help within you. The psychotherapist goes out to help others, not realizing it's the fractures that he needs or she needs in order to help herself, in order to realize self. There is no one else. And remember that you've come across this path of yours because you reached the darkest depths of the dark soul of the night. You've gone through the darkest dark. You've gone through that second level of sort of awakening to self, the path to peace, the 6 levels, and then you've reached the 5th one again and again and again and so forth. And now you think because you've now got glimpses into reality that you're ready to go and share and help others. It's all you. I'm not here to help you. I'm only here sharing this because by sharing it, it reinforces it. As I'm sharing it, it's extending through me. And as it's extending through me, it's making itself known to the temporal body, mind, me, but it's making itself known to all of me's, my many me's, which is my many selves, one indivisible whole. Remember, you going through an awakening to self sequence, which we all go through, and each one goes through a uniquely individual one, although they at some stage all seem to be similar. Now remember, not everybody's ready. Now some teachers teach their own way, direct experience. Others like to teach someone else's teachings. They don't have the confidence to use their own words. Some teach other people's teachings and then mix their own words. Many a person likes to teach from the Course, as do people like to teach from the Quran or the Vedas or the Bible. And they become experts at it until you've transcended it. Once you've transcended it, you start using your own language because there's no more understanding. You're not standing under anything anymore. You've transcended understanding to being, to knowing. And then you start to use this. Remember, most people want instant glorification. They want to know God or Jesus or their Messiah, but they still want to hang on to this world. They want to hang on to some spiritual magical gift. They got healing hands, or they psychic. They can see the future. They can read the Akashic records. Bullshit. They can talk to angels, fragments of yourself, true self, and now they're special. So they've now got the special relationship. And you pay close attention to these so-called special people that have special gifts and special relationships. Their lives are fucking hell. How? Why? Like I said before in one of the earlier sections, they've touched on the reality. They've got glimpses of reality, but they're hanging on to specialness in the physical world. And the two become in dire parity. The distance is now further and further apart. And so they're going to flux, which means the world's going to come back and smack you on the behind, on the Uranus, light up your kundalini. Third eye explodes like fairy dust coming out of a unicorn's bumper. And you're going to wonder, what the fuck's happening to me? I'm supposed to be so spiritual. Why shit things happening to me? I'm so holy. It's happening to you because you're not letting go. You're not fully letting go and fully surrendering and stop acting to be so spiritual. Just be yourself. Be yourself authentically, because you're such a disservice to your brothers when you act almightier than thou and so holy. Gentle people. Let's take Rupert Spira, for example. He does pottery. Okay. could never imagine doing pottery, as Rupert could never imagine racing a motorcycle around the track. Is one more spiritual than the other? Through his pottery, he realized self. Through my racing motorcycles, in that instant death moment when you're tracking at 300 k's an hour and you're completely present and you're feeling the front wheel lose grip and the back wheel spinning, and there's someone behind you and someone in front of you and you're not quite sure what they're going to do, and you go center and you realize I am on a racetrack, 300 k's an hour on my knee. Some people get that on their knee in a church. So we all find our own path. No path is the right way. Nothing's more spiritual than anything in this world. It's either all completely holy or nothing at all. It's all a miracle or none of it is. And God, all of it is. Okay. So be wary that you don't come into this non-dual understanding. And now, like all the religious types, you want to find yourself a little soapbox on West 42nd, New York, and you want to go and sit up on that soapbox and preach and convert and change everybody, and you become fucking annoying. And that's why you lose your friends. It's not because you're vibrating at a higher frequency. It's because you're fucking annoying. And you're now trying to convert everybody and make everybody understand you're non-dual. Do not go and teach people. They will ask. And then answer through your demonstration. Answer through your compassionate nature. Rise above the battlefield and invite others to rise up with you. If they reach out to you, pull them up, but don't force them. People aren't ready to awaken from their shit. And who gives you the permission to do it? What makes you the authority on what they should be experiencing? Let them experience what they need to experience. When they're ready, they will ask. And if you go and force people to awaken, don't be surprised that it comes around and bites you in the ass and you get dragged into their drama. At some stage, you're going to learn that you need to stand up for yourself, be yourself authentically, be true to yourself. Then some idiot's going to tell you, build boundaries. Say no. Saying no is building a boundary. No, it's not. There's no boundaries in self. We're one boundless, limitless self. You're just being true to self. Saying no is just being true to self. And when you say no, some people are going to be upset. When you say yes to some people, you're saying no to others. That's okay. Just be true to self. No is no, and be authentic. And sometimes no can be said in a gentle and kind way. And sometimes it has to be said as fuck no. Not over my fucking dead body. Piss off now. Enough. No. Hey, you don't have to be spiritual all the time, whatever spiritual means to you. Be yourself authentically. Okay. And so I hope that clears it up. I'm going to take a pause now and open up for questions. So just let me take a 5-minute break.